All right, let's talk about all the turmoil in the West Wing with Anthony Scaramucci. He was the White House communications director for 10 days, replaced by Hope Hicks, but knows very well what the dynamic, what Hope Hicks meant to President Trump. How big is this?
It's 11 days, all right? Yeah, let's start.
11 days.
Let's start the interview
Fake
out
news.
Right. Finally, with 11 days.
11
okay.
days, but you were relevant before that period. You're relevant after it. You know the man. You know the vibe. How big is this?
I worked on the campaign a long time.
Right.
And I was also on the executive transition team, the
Absolutely.
committee.
I remember it well. How big is this?
Well, I think it's a big departure in the sense that this is one of the president's closest friends, aides, loyalists, somebody that understands the heartbeat of the president, understands his personality, and also is, she's incredibly good at guiding people. And I will tell you this about Hope. And Washington's a rough place. We both know that. There's not a malicious bone in Hope's body. I mean, she's just a wonderful person, always trying to do the right thing, cares about everybody, not interested in the conflict, not interested in the ego rub and the internet bashing that I experienced or other people have experienced.
Now, on the plus side, people...
It's a big loss for the president.
People close to the president say the untold value of Hope Hicks wasn't about communications. It was about external communications. It was internal. Her ability to say to people, do not come at the president this way on this. He's angry about this. He doesn't want to be told about that. And that was very valuable for people trying to negotiate his mood around him.
I think some of that's probably true, but here's the other thing is that, I think people always felt that she was very fair and very honest. So if you went to her with something and you said, okay, what do you think of this? She would give you a very honest interpretation. It was none of that political nonsense or trying to, sense the tea leaves of the situation. So I have an enormous amount of respect for her. She's going to have a phenomenal career. My agent called me last night. He's like, you got to help me get Hope as a client, that sort of thing. I mean, she's gonna do anything she wants.
I'm sure that all of you guys will find avenues to success after being part of this situation. But on the negative side, she says that she did tell some lies for the president. She said that there was no communications between anyone from Trump and Russians. She underplayed the situation with that meeting and the drafting of the response there, too. The Rob Porter thing was a debacle of epic proportions.
So let's unpack each one of those things. Okay, but let's start with the white lie. So I would submit to your viewers or anybody in America or around the world, tell me the person that hasn't told a white lie. I'll identify that person as the biggest liar in the room. And so here's what happens in Washington that I absolutely can't stand. She's in a closed-door session. They're asking her stuff. It's under oath. You know how important that is. So do I. The integrity of every sentence, every syllable. They ask her if she told any white lies. She said yes, probably. I don't know. I wasn't there. And then they pick up the phone, Chris, and they drop a dime on her. Okay, it's just totally unfair. It's a closed session and in strict confidence. And so now they're trying to colorize this woman who's an extremely gifted professional as a liar. And so I submit it back to everybody else. Hold a mirror to your face and tell me that you haven't told a white lie, because I don't believe it, okay?
Well, fine, but in her capacity...
Let's go to the next position.
But qualifying your critique of that is the idea that she said nobody on this team met with any Russians. We know that's untrue, and she should have known it was untrue when she said it.
Okay, well, I don't know...
I don't count that as a white lie.
Okay, so I don't know the exact facts of that situation, whether she knew it or she didn't know it, so I can't really address that. What I can address is her integrity.
She said it to the Times 2 days after the election. She knew.
I got it. And Maggie's here, and Maggie will be able to address that. She'll be able to tell you, call a ball and strike on that. What I can do, though, is I can step back after working with her for 2.5 years and a pretty good evaluator of talent. Now, sometimes I am colorful about my evaluation of these people, but I've been mostly right about these people. You just take a look at what's gone on.
And you think she was one of the good ones. I get it.
Great. High integrity,
but what
very
about the
good
Rob
person.
Porter situation? She should have known.
Rob
if I'm
Porter
involved with this
situation,
guy, I can't be involved.
I hold the White House chief of staff accountable for that.
Kelly, you hold accountable.
No question, because he had the information related to Porter, and I don't understand why he would allow Hope to date Porter if he's got that information.
How can she keep him from dating?
No, my point is, come on.
Not their dad.
He had the information. He tried to cover up the information. He tried to get other people inside the White House to cover up the information for him.
You believe Kelly covered up the information about the...
I do.
Because that's not what the White House says. The White House says as soon as he found out, he acted on it.
Right. Well, I don't believe that.
Is that another white lie?
Well, you got to ask him. Have him sit in the white chair and ask him if it's a white lie or not. You'll be able to figure it out quickly. But, you know, the Rob Porter situation for me, I liked Rob. You know, I've been asked even by the president, did I see any of that indication in Rob? I didn't. But there was an FBI dossier on Rob, and people knew about it. And so, you know, look, I mean, look.
So how does Kelly survive then? Why was he allowed? Why didn't he get the berating that Hope Hicks got?
This is how it works, okay? It's going to be up for the president to decide that, okay? I guess he's an honorable Marine, and so he's got to look at himself in the mirror and say what he knew and when he knew it. But I'll tell you what I don't like about it, okay? I talked a little bit of smack about two guys that we were trying to get rid of. He fires me in 5 seconds. These guys are smacking up their wives, and he's trying to figure out a way to keep them inside the White House. So it's very dishonest to me.
So is it personal? Is it a personal grievance that's motivating you, or do you think, as a matter of honor and duty, Kelly needs to go?
It's a cultural grievance because I've sat in this white chair with you over the 6 months after he fired me and said nothing but good things about him. I have no problem with him firing me. Everybody has an opportunity and the right to change their staff, particularly when they're the chief of staff. But this is a cultural thing, okay? The morale inside the White House, you're a great reporter. You've got great reporters on staff here. The morale's terrible. And the reason why the morale's terrible is that the rule by fear and intimidation does not work in a civilian environment. And so here we are. It's messed up. It'll be up to the president to figure out if he wants to fix it or not. If he doesn't,
well, the question is whether or not the president
is
contributing to the turmoil.
I predict more departures.
You predict more departures.
There'll be more departures.
So you are subscribing to something that's bubbling up here, and I want to hear Maggie's take on this as well. There is an Ides of March theory going on right now. You know, obviously we're in March, Ides of March. We all know what that means, right? Beware the Ides of March. That's when Caesar got taken out. But it's about trouble in the middle of the month. That's what the Ides were. Do you believe that that's what we're looking at here, that there's going to be more trouble?
I don't know. But here's what I know, is that when you're running an organization, particularly a civilian organization, there has to be an esprit de corps that's very different from the military and the ordnance structure of the military. And so, to me, I look at the morale. I see the departures. I see the departures of Trump loyalists and people that are close to the president. I see the fact that John has denied access to the White House of the president's strongest loyalists, myself included. I get invited to go to the White House. He's got me blocked on the wave system. You know,
what does that mean, bad morale? Because, by the way, Anthony,
I think it's a mistake going into a midterm election and into another presidential election where you've got Trump loyalists that want to help the president. I could care less that I got fired, okay? I'm not going to move off of my friendship with the president or my support of the president's agenda. But now, what are you going to do? You're going to block me from getting, if someone wants to see me inside the White House, you're going to block me.
When you talk about morale, what does that mean? What do you think is going on?
Morale, there's a culture of intimidation, people afraid to talk to each other.
Coming from the president? They're afraid of the president?
No, I think it's the chief of staff. I think there's a culture of fear inside the White House, and people are afraid to talk to each other. Because
Kelly's supposed to bring order, it's supposed to be a calming influence. You say no.
Well, when you say order, there's a martial order, and then there's order where there's like good harmony. Okay, there's two different types of order. There's a lot of different ways you can describe order, but sometimes order is actually not a good word.
Do you think that Kushner and Kelly can exist in the same White House for long?
I hope so. Okay, because Jared is a very valuable contributor to that White House. He had a broad portfolio. He's a very smart guy. You know, I have an enormous amount of respect for him. And by the way, here's the other thing. He's worked on this campaign / transition / presidency for a very long period of time. He knows the president very well. Obviously, he's a family member. We don't have to state that, but I'll state it. But he's a very good guy. And so the notion of knocking him down a peg and then the way they're treating him in the press, you know, I don't like it.
Well, Kelly's the one who knocked him down a peg. He's the one who pulled the clearance.
I'm not a big fan of it, okay? My impression...
You don't think they should have pulled his clearance?
I don't know, but my impression is, from talking to people very close to Jared, that he believes that he has the ability to get that clearance. But I think there needs to be an examination as to why he's not getting it.
Would you take that meeting with Apollo Capital? If on the outside you were working a deal for a loan of that kind of money?
So I'm going to answer it in two ways, okay? I probably wouldn't have taken the meeting, but I understand why Jared took the meeting. And let me just explain, here's the problem now for business people that go into the White House. The system is set up really to block business people. I had to sell my company to get the OPL job, okay, a $228 million company. which has now been tied up in CFIUS for 15 months, okay? So that's
CFIUS is the vetting administration that looks at those kinds of deals.
I sold it to a large cap global company, happens to be based in China. So now I have to wait 15 months for regulatory approval or disapproval, okay? Never asked for a favor, I just wanted the process to start. But as it relates to being a business person, Jared had probably loans outstanding from those companies prior to his arrival inside the White House. And so now you're in a very tough spot because of the way the rules and ethics are made. They're literally designed, Chris, to block entrepreneurs and business leaders from entering the system. Lawyers, academics, people that don't have strong intertwined business ties, it's a very different situation.
Right, but
for
one,
them,
you know that there's
a military general,
right,
or
but you know there's good reason for that.
Money or any business in it.
The good reason for that, Anthony, is exactly what we're seeing. 184. Look, you know Apollo Capital very well. That is an unusual bridge loan, $184 million that they put out. The guy wanted to work by the reporting on their own portfolio. Okay. That's an unusual one. It's a healthy one. The guy had interest in working in the administration. You come and you meet in your capacity as a representative of the United States government, and then you allow that to happen. Citicorp, same deal. You allow that to happen.
When you analyze these things the way and you characterize them the way you just did, okay. I understand the point that you're making.
Semblance of impropriety is the standard for ethical conflict.
I understand the point that you're making, and I understand the issues around conflict. But I'm saying something that's way broader than even Jared Kushner or
tons
Apollo.
of business people work in there before you can put your shares in things. You can divest. You can do different things if you want to serve the public.
It's Chris
Paulson. When he came in and it took us through the entire depression.
Okay, well, hold on a second. Paulson's in a publicly traded company.
Right.
Very liquid, very deep liquidity in that stock, and you can let go of that thing without, quote-unquote, CFIUS approval, none of the other nonsense. Jared and his family are tied into Goldman Sachs, very deep liquid stock.
Trump?
Okay, he's on a different standard.
Yeah, and he hasn't been transparent at all about it. If the rest of you guys acted the way the president did, you would have never been given your permission.
Hold on a second, but he's at a different standard. Look at what the law is. Okay, he is the one exception in that whole system. He could literally run the Trump organization and the Oval Office at the same time and be above the ethical fray.
No, he wouldn't be above the ethical fray. He'd be above the legal fray.
Okay, he wouldn't be above your ethical fray, but at the end of the day,
you think you want a president running a private business?
Well, the American people had to decide that, right? They voted him in. They did recognize
he would have nothing to do with his private business anymore.
He really hasn't.
Come on. How can you say that? He spends most of his time at Trump properties.
Are you hanging out with him?
Huh?
He spends most of his time at Trump properties because he owns the properties. It's like going to your own vacation
But I'm saying look, the idea that he has nothing to do with his brand, all of this is an extension of brand for him. Come on, you know that.
Okay. No, you know that because of the way you're insinuating it, okay? I know the kids very well.
Won't show his taxes. He won't open any of the books of any of his transactions.
Look, he looked at the situation with Governor Romney. When Governor Romney showed his taxes, poor Mitt Romney had a small Cayman Islands account. He built his career, made himself unbelievably financially independent, and they railed on him for his Cayman Islands account. And then they started these negative campaign advertisements about that he gave a woman cancer in the middle of Michigan. So this is what happens in our society. This happens in our politics. You can dislike the president, but he's a very good campaign strategist. The decision not to put out his very complicated tax structure and system was probably a good one because it took off the table all of that negative activity.
Yeah, but what about truth and transparency to people? You think we're too dumb to figure out his taxes?
You got his taxes?
No. If I had them, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I would have had a bunch of experts go over it and outline any issues.
Here we go again. Okay, the people voted. They looked at the president.
They didn't have full information.
Warts and all, but they had full information.
And now we're steeped in an investigation
Chris,
that largely is looking at exactly the things they don't know about.
They had full information that they didn't have full information. Okay, they had full
information that they didn't have full information.
That's exactly right.
No, I don't think that's the way it works. I don't think people voted saying, well, I know I don't know the truth about this guy, but I'll vote for him.
40 years, people divulged their taxes. 40 years prior, they didn't. This candidate made a decision not to. Am I going to vote for him, yes or no? Oh, I'm going to vote for him. He's the 45th president.
But it's just not fair to assume that you can't know what you don't know, Anthony. So
you're missing my point. You're missing my point. They knew that they didn't know that, and if that's a red letter item for them, then they didn't vote for him.
Right. It's just an unfair standard.
If they were willing to overlook that and take the entire package American people want reform, Chris. They don't like the
I know,
swamp.
but they're getting more of the same and worse. He was supposed to drain the swamp. He was supposed to bring in the best. And look at what we're dealing with, how he sweats talent, how many just comms directors he's gone through.
Maybe it's not drainable.
All the ethical problems.
Maybe it's a gold-plated hot tub. Maybe it's not drainable. Okay, we'll have to figure that out. But the system, the way it is right now, American people don't like it. Okay, and so the reason why he's going to win re-election is that he represents a change and a possible disruption to that system. And maybe that system can't be disrupted, okay, because we've evacuated most of the Trump loyalists out of the White House. We don't allow access to most of the Trump loyalists to come into the White House. And so maybe the system itself is so powerful, maybe the immunological system around the swamp is so powerful that it will reject a disruptive move to change the system and make the system fairer and more accountable to the American people.
Or maybe adding a virus into that system
we'll have to see.
Wasn't the appropriate change mechanism. Maybe he'll have to try something else. But last word on this. You do believe...
The economy's doing well. He's done a good job on the economic policy.
Wall Street's doing well. Time will tell how the policies manifest.
The wages are up, brother.
There are some indications of it. We'll see what happens in the reports. Everybody wants the economy to go up.
My 11-day short stint, okay, I was trained in economy.
I know you were.
You look at the real wages, the data represents real economic activity for the average American person.
I just want to end on this word. You do believe that we should be open to more people leaving the administration?
If the current situation and the current culture inside the administration stays exactly the way it is, and there's literally no change, there will be a lot more departures. Yeah, the morale is at an all-time low, and it's trending lower.